I'm doing something different here. I'm gonna split this review up into 4 distinct segments, and see if you guys want me to do this in the future based on your feedback. The segments are as follows: the voice acting, animation and adherence to the original manga, the characters themselves, and finally, my final verdict. After this video, I'm gonna be headed into relatively uncharted territory. It's actually been a while since I've seen GX in its entirety, so it'll be interesting rewatching the episodes after about a decade of non-exposure to them. For now, let's get into my final review of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime. Oh yeah, that's up next first. So, where to begin? I guess I should start with the voice acting, since I don't see it mentioned that often. The main cast all do wonderfully in this last hurrah, or what we as an audience thought that last hurrah would be. Stick around to the end of this video for more on that. Dan Green is phenomenal here. He gives Atem so much more authority and grace in his tone. He has the timid but confidence that Yugi would have at this point in the chronology, and he continues to excel at the emotional moments, especially that gut punch emotional ending. Moving on, Eric Stewart also gives a solid performance, although I don't really think he's utilized to his full potential. Dark Sides of Dimensions does that a lot better in my opinion, although the aforementioned lack of utilization could simply be due to Stewart's lack of screen time as Seto during these 4 episodes. Even though what we do get of him during the 4 episodes is very good. Last but not least, there's one performer that I haven't really talked about a lot in this series. The voice of Joey Wheeler, Wayne Grayson. Grayson has always been perfect for Joey, but I think he gives his best performance as the character here during these 4 episodes. If you're wondering, his second best performance has to be during his duel with Atem in Duelist Kingdom. He was pure gold when it came to the comedic moments, but here, he proved that he could handle the serious and emotional moments just fine as well. He gives Joey just enough depth and emotional complexity to make him a solid character overall, despite what some sects of the fandom have to say. Now, if there's a flaw to be found, I would have to say that cutscene that I mentioned in my last video. Don't get me wrong, that's nothing against the voice actors themselves. It's just, not having them voice that final scene kind of robs the last episode of its finality. On a more practical level, it puzzles me as to why they cut it out of the dub. I mean, it's literally an extra minute of footage. Why they cut it is beyond me. But that's neither here nor there. The animation in these 4 episodes is, at least until the release of Dark Sides of Dimensions, the absolute best that the original series ever looks. Although, on a personal level, I wish that they would re-release it on Blu-ray someday, to give it that extra polish. The animation is so detailed, you feel the impact of each attack that's thrown, and seeing these 2 men in pain when they lose life points puts you at the edge of your seat in anticipation. In terms of manga adherence, it's pretty good overall. In fact, there was actually an extra chapter written following the manga's conclusion, which, while not containing any additional content, was a nice farewell letter from Takahashi himself. It reads as follows. For 7 long years, I've traveled with Yugioh. I think I've been able to draw the themes I've wanted to express, but as I end the series, my main concern is whether I've transmitted my message to my readers. From the moment Yugi put together the Millennium Puzzle, the other self appeared in his heart. The time needed to explore two main characters turned this into a long series. In our daily life, we never get to see ourselves except by standing in front of a mirror. But even a mirror won't reflect our hearts. The main characters of this work won the courage and strength of will to face each other's hearts. As we go about our lives, we touch people, we see people, and interact with them. In doing so, we feel and think many things. Sometimes we make others happy. Sometimes we hurt them. We sympathize, and we disagree. In the midst of this, we learn that people's thoughts and feelings are not a one-way street. You may say that's something very basic and natural, but what I wanted to draw and write in this work was just that interaction between people. And in order to do that, I used games. The games that the characters played were not played facing monitors, but facing other people. The opponents they played were the mirrors that reflected their hearts. In a basic sense, they fought each other's spirits. Because this was a manga, it was deeply colored by the battle between good and evil. But I think the basis of the game was to clarify what lies between people. I think this was the reason that the Yu-Gi-Oh card game became so successful all over the world. In my mind, Yu-Gi-Oh has been completed. But throughout the world, many people are taking my work and the cards in their hands. In gratitude for that, I would like to prolong the world of Yu-Gi-Oh for just a little while longer. I borrow the end of this book to thank all of those who have participated in this world. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Kazuki Takahashi, April 14th, 2004. So, Takahashi ended the manga after 7 long years, and allowed other artists to come forward and create their own take. For crying out loud, with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 announced, I'm speculating whether or not that series will have some connection to Duel Monsters, since, for those of you who don't know, the Season 7 announcement actually coincides with the 20th anniversary of Duel Monsters itself. While this duel is mostly about Atem and Yugi bidding each other adieu, the side characters also contribute to it. As mentioned previously, Taya makes interesting observations based on the cards that Yugi plays. Bakura comments about the stakes of the duel itself, especially during the moments prior to the final attack, when Bakura states that once the duel ends, Atem will be released, and they'll never see him again. I have a theory about what happens to Seto after this duel, but I'll get into that once I present my review of Dark Sides of Dimensions. Here though, I can see why Seto is so against the thought of Yugi winning, since this is the first time he's ever actually seen Yugi himself duel, after the revelation of Atem and Yugi being two different people is revealed to him. In fact, Seto was constantly bickering about it, stating that Yugi couldn't duel his way out of a paper bag, and saying stuff like Yugi had his lookalike duel for him. But, like I mentioned in his character analysis video, he comes full circle once the Egyptian god cards are destroyed. Merrick, Odeon, and Ishizu are mainly there to lead the others to the tomb, and that's pretty much it, unfortunately. Although, we do get a little bit of closure for Ishizu, with that throwaway line about the visions that she has once the Dark Magician is summoned. Tristan and Joey do what they do best: joke around and have banter. Joey is given the more emotional bits to sink his teeth into, and I already mentioned how great that is. Yugi's arc, and really this whole duel in a nutshell, is about finally moving on with his life. Initially, he's all in, attacking Atem just like he would any other opponent. But, once that final attack is called, Yugi lets all of his emotion out when he collapses. To be honest, that scene between him and Atem gets me every time, and I'm in my early 20s, mind you. Heh, and people say anime is dumb and only for children. Sure proved them wrong, but I'm getting off topic. Overall, all the characters come full circle. Their arcs are wrapped up beautifully, and they're finally allowed to move on. First, the duel itself. Is this the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel of all time, as I alluded to in part 1? Well, actually no. Oh, come on, guys, hear me out. Come on, please. Just give me a chance, please. Oh, I see you there trying to type an angry comment about how I'm wrong, that this isn't the greatest duel of all time. I see what you're trying to do. Nope, step away from the keyboard. Yes, you there, step away from the keyboard right now. I'm sorry to anyone watching this, but there's one duel, for me, that eclipses it in terms of the franchise itself. If we're talking the original series, this duel absolutely takes the #1 spot. It has just enough emotion, great amounts of intrigue, character development pretty much at the end of every turn, and wonderful voice acting to boot. Despite that cutscene I mentioned earlier. Although, if I'm being honest, had they left that cutscene in, that would have just been the icing on this cake of awesomeness. So, the final verdict is yes, the highest possible 5 out of 5 that I can give, with the Millennium Medal attached. Simply go and watch these 4 episodes, you will not regret it, I guarantee it. And to anyone watching who's a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! But say, never got the chance to see what made the series so beloved, you owe it to yourself to kick back, grab a soda, and see how and why an entire generation of fans fell in love with not just this franchise, but anime itself. Thank you guys so much for watching, God bless, and may the heart of the cards guide you.